There are some movies you already know not to watch with your parents. But every now and then, a film that seems completely harmless sneaks into the Netflix queue or the local theatre lineup, and suddenly you're sitting through one of the most uncomfortable viewing experiences of your life. It happens more often than people admit. And yes, it's painful. So what are the weirdest movies to watch with your parents? Which films make you wish the couch would swallow you whole? And if you can think of any other painfully awkward picks, add them to the list. You might just save someone else from making the mistake of watching Secretary with Mom and Dad. Consider it a public service. A Serbian film. An infamous and deeply disturbing film. A Serbian film is about as far from a comfortable family movie night as you can get. Packed with graphic violence, extreme sexual content, and scenes specifically designed to shock audiences, the movie quickly turns into the kind of viewing experience where everyone in the room wishes they had picked literally anything else. What makes it especially awkward to watch with parents isn't just the explicit material, it's the relentless way the film pushes boundaries at every opportunity. The story dives into some incredibly dark and twisted territory, creating a tense atmosphere that's more nauseating than entertaining for many viewers. Basic Instinct. A sleek and provocative thriller, Basic Instinct is the kind of movie that can turn an innocent family movie night into a painfully awkward experience within minutes. Loaded with sexual tension, explicit scenes, and non-stop psychological games, the film wastes no time making everyone in the room deeply aware of just how uncomfortable they are. Much of that discomfort comes from the film's seductive atmosphere and the fearless performance of its manipulative femme fatale, who uses sexuality as both a weapon and a source of power. The movie leans heavily into themes of obsession, desire, and control, creating a viewing experience that's definitely not ideal when sitting next to your parents on the couch. Decades after its release, Basic Instinct still holds its reputation as one of the ultimate do-not-watch with your parents movies. American Pie. Raunchy, chaotic, and packed with teenage mischief, American Pie is practically designed to make family movie nights unbearably awkward. What starts as a goofy, coming-of-age comedy quickly turns into a non-stop parade of sexual jokes, embarrassing situations, and over-the-top attempts at teenage experimentation that are definitely harder to sit through when your parents are sitting right beside you. The film leans heavily into crude humor and awkward curiosity, turning nearly every major scene into something that makes viewers instinctively reach for the remote or suddenly become fascinated by the flaw. Even people who love the movie usually admit it's one of those films best watched with friends. Not with Mum and Dad in the room. Eyes Wide Shut. Mysterious, provocative, and deeply unsettling at times, Eyes Wide Shut is the kind of movie that can make an ordinary family movie night feel painfully uncomfortable in record time. Directed by Stanley Kubrick in what became his final film, the movie dives into themes of desire, temptation, secrecy, and sexual obsession with an intensity that's hard to ignore. As the story unfolds, it pulls viewers into a strange and dreamlike world filled with explicit encounters, hidden fantasies, and emotionally charged tension. Watching all of that unfold while sitting next to your parents can turn even the quietest scene into an awkward experience. The film doesn't rely on cheap shock value alone. It creates discomfort through atmosphere, intimacy, and the uneasy feeling that you're witnessing something deeply personal. The Human Centipede. Disturbing, grotesque, and built entirely around shock value, The Human Centipede, first sequence, is the kind of movie that can make viewers regret every life decision that led to pressing play, especially if their parents are in the room. The film's infamous premise alone is enough to make most people uncomfortable long before the real horror even begins. Centered around a deranged surgeon carrying out a horrifying medical experiment, the movie leans heavily into graphic body horror, and deeply unsettling imagery designed to disgust and disturb its audience. Watching those scenes unfold beside your parents creates a level of shared discomfort that few movies can rival. It's the kind of experience where nobody speaks, nobody moves, and everyone silently wonders when the movie will finally end. Secretary. Mixing romance with themes of dominance and submission, Secretary is the kind of movie that can make a family movie night feel unbearably tense in a hurry. What begins as an offbeat romantic drama gradually evolves into a deeply unconventional relationship story centered around BDSM, workplace power dynamics, and intense personal vulnerability. All things most people would rather not unpack while sitting next to their parents. The film follows a young woman who enters into a complicated relationship with her demanding boss, leading to a series of intimate and emotionally charged moments that can leave viewers shifting awkwardly in their seats. Unlike movies that rely purely on shock value, Secretary leans heavily into emotional intimacy and sexual exploration, which somehow makes the experience even more uncomfortable in a family setting. By the end, Secretary easily earns its reputation as one of the most uncomfortable watch with your parents movie choices imaginable. Nymphomaniac Volume 1, provocative, emotionally intense, and completely unfiltered. Nymphomaniac Volume 1 is about as far from a comfortable family movie night as possible. Directed by Lars von Trier, the film dives headfirst into themes of sexual obsession, addiction, and emotional emptiness with a level of honesty that can make even solo viewers uncomfortable, let alone anyone watching beside their parents. The story follows a self-described nymphomaniac as she recounts the experiences that shaped her life, leading the audience through a series of explicit encounters, risky behavior, and deeply personal confessions. The film's unapologetic approach to sexuality, fetishism, and emotional vulnerability creates an atmosphere that's impossible to casually sit through in a family setting. 50 Shades of Grey, sensual, controversial, and impossible to mistake for a family-friendly movie, 50 Shades of Grey is the kind of film that can make watching with your parents feel like a social endurance challenge. Based on 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James, the movie dives headfirst into themes of dominance, submission, and sexual exploration, with very little concern for viewer comfort. The story follows a young woman who becomes romantically involved with a wealthy businessman whose unconventional preferences introduce her to a world of BDSM and complicated power dynamics. Unsurprisingly, the film is packed with intimate scenes and emotionally charged moments that can turn even the quietest living room into an awkward silence marathon when parents are nearby.